I don't know. I don't know what I want. I'm trying to figure it out.
So this chair,
Hmm.
it can't not do this to make me sit up straight.
I don't know if it can or not. Truth be told,
All right, all
but
right.
we're live, so you know it's all good
Something's going on with this
with the water.
my cup.
Come on over here, closer to me.
What?
Yeah, come sit closer. Get a little closer. Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday. It is Thursday.
Oh, I forgot my phone.
You need it?
No, I guess not.
How's everybody doing out there? Um, Give us a thumbs up or we're alive or
You
something.
can hear us.
If you're doing good, let us know you can hear us. Let us know that we're always messing around with this thing. I'm about to completely change this setup at some point. So we're still putting it together. Uh, Man, did I see some people actually left already? Come on now, we didn't even say anything yet. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet, folks. All right, how's everybody doing? It's Thursday. Um, I'm not going to look at the camera today. The camera's actually right there. I'm just going to look at the screen. Um, hey, what's up, Phyllis? Thank you for joining. This is we weren't here last week, last Thursday. I am, I am. What's wrong? I am a co-host to another show called The Pulpit in the Pew. So if you're not following The Pulpit in the Pew, search that on Facebook and follow The Pulpit in the Pew. But last Thursday we had a live event. Felice, what's going on? Good guy. Follow this. Follow this gentleman, marriage coach. Follow him. Good information from him. Married as one. Go ahead and follow that. Follow that guy if you get a chance. Felice, welcome. All right. So we weren't here last week. We're here this week, and working hard today. Second show. Rich. Yeah. Well, actually, Rich, that you
That
might
was
be referring to the camp meeting thing.
that was pre-recorded.
Yeah, that was something we actually did a few weeks back that they uh,
Pre-recorded.
yeah, they re-showed during camp meeting. We didn't even know that they were going to do that. We just found that out. But thank you for checking that out. Appreciate it. Talking about having intimate conversations. This Thursday night for folk that might be new to this. I don't know if we have new folk to this or not, but folk that might be new to this Thursday night session that we do, man, is literally all about getting couples to talk more. And so normally what we do is we come on here and we just have a conversation,
Hmm.
like a literal conversation between the two of us. Some of them are tense. If you go back and look at some of the other ones, some of them have been tense, some of them have been funny. It's just whatever comes up, and we have that conversation, hash things out in front of folk, just to let people know that hey, you can have all these kinds of conversations. You
You
can talk.
should.
You should have all these kind of conversations. You need to talk to your spouse about everything, and we're just kind of giving that example. And so we pull folk into the conversation as they watch us have the conversation live. And so that's what that's what this whole Thursday is about. And we bookended the same way. We created a tool, um, and we've gotten good reviews from the few folk who have this tool in their possession. But it is the Have a Conversation Couples Journal, and in the Have a Conversation Couples Journal, the goal again is to get couples to talk more. We want couples to talk about everything, right? And so we put a tool together that allows couples to kind of start these conversations because some of them are hard to start, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are easy to start, some of them are hard to start. But you get 12 topics that we feel like are typical topics
Topics
that
that couples.
couples talk about. Say that a lot. Say that a couple times. Typical topics that couples talk about. We put 12 of them in the journal for you. You have space to create your own. You also see some excerpts from our actual journal entries in some of those areas. The whole goal being to get you to start jotting down some things, thinking about your thoughts, and having these conversations with your significant other. So you can pick that up at Amazon or Barnes and Nobles or on our website, denali.org/shop. So, what's on your mind this week?
Um, I was really debating if I should even talk about this.
You should. So hold that, and while you get your thoughts together, let me just say this at the top of this.
How do you know I should?
No, you should. I know you should. Whatever it is, I know you should. So here's the thing. Let me say this first before we get into the conversation. I'm gonna say it again at the end. We are making a shift as it relates to a lot of our content. We're going to be moving to a Facebook group, and so we want you to get on this Facebook group. It is facebook.com/groups/Denali LLC. We're moving all of our not all, but the majority of our content to this Facebook group and to YouTube. So we will begin, like right now, I'm live on my personal page and I'm live on the Denali page. We will start from next week going live in this group and in our on our YouTube channel. So I'll put those up again at the end. We want you to go to the Facebook group. Facebook group is groups/Denali LLC. And the YouTube page is YouTube-Denali LLC. So we will be going live in those particular areas starting from next week. So we want you to be a part of that. We're trying to create a community. We appreciate the onlookers and we appreciate the folk that are kind of eavesdropping, and we'll always cater to that large portion of the segment of the population. But we're trying to create a community of folks who are really trying to dig in, as we are trying to dig in, learn our spouses, grow, and have this relationship that God intended us to have. And so we're kind of honing down into two spots. And so we want you to make sure that you are a part of those two areas.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So, what are you going to talk about?
You're loud.
I'm loud?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. My bad.
Do you feel like
Mhm.
a personal assessment of yourself,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Do you feel like and I don't know if this is the right word, but I can't think of another word. It probably is not the right word. But do you feel like you nurture me enough? I'm pretty sure nurture is not the right word, so I'm using that word loosely.
Describe.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
tell me what you think I mean when I say nurture.
I feel like you're asking me if I am sensitive enough to your needs, and that I meet I meet them in such a way that is intentional and is based on what you need. Like if you need me to be soft about it, or if you need me to be rough in the sense about it, or if you need me to be vulnerable, right, or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So depending on what the
That's
situation
what I mean.
Is. Okay.
That's what I mean. So do you feel like you do that adequately enough for me?
I think there's ebbs and flows. I think there's periods of time where I get it right a little bit more consistently, and I think there are periods of time where I don't.
Do I nurture you adequately? Same thing, probably.
No.
Ebbs.
I'm just messing with you. I just had to say that. I'm sorry. I knew you were gonna have that face. I think it's ebbs and flows. I think that's. I'd be very surprised if anybody consistently got it right.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think the follow-up question is, do the times I get it right outweigh the times that I don't? Because then that's
very
a problem.
True. Very
that's
true.
That's a problem if
Good
the answer
point.
to that question is no.
Good point.
And I guess that's where It's funny you would say that, right? Because that's probably where the real evaluation lies. I think often what we do,
Weighing it.
right? I think often what we do is we evaluate that based on getting it right and not getting it right, as
Okay.
opposed to whether getting it right outweighs not getting it right.
Okay.
Because those are two different evaluations.
Very
right?
true. Very true. Okay, so here, and I don't know if you can even think about where I'm going with this.
I cannot.
Okay.
But go ahead, spill it out.
So,
Let me brace
and
myself.
I would love for you guys to weigh in as well as far as your spouses and your spouse's needs, and as far as you nurturing your spouse. Do you feel like your spouse nurtures you enough? If you feel like you can even comment about it right now, or
Right.
if you'd rather have a conversation with your spouse about it first.
And the 7 people that are watching, can you guys do me a favor, please?
Share
7 people that are watching, can you just share it? Just share it. We just want to get some more folk into this conversation. Yes, it's a conversation between us, but it is a conversation that we love input from. That's the whole reason we get on here live, because we want everybody's input. Several weeks that we do this, people throw stuff in the comments that actually helps us process what we're trying to process. And we
Yeah.
turn off this video a lot of Thursdays. We turn off this video and be like, man, so and so made a good point.
And have another conversation.
Like that's what we probably need to think about doing that. So
Yeah.
share this real quick so we can get a couple people in this conversation talking about nurturing your spouse. All right, go ahead.
So, I feel like um, the nurturing that you do does outweigh where the times that I don't feel nurtured
Mhm.
enough
Mhm.
for me.
Okay.
However, having said that, I think that the issue or challenge or concern
Mhm.
that I have is that there's one particular area that happens frequently. And I feel like if I've addressed it to you as a concern where I don't feel like you're nurturing me enough in this area, that should change.
So there's one area where
It keeps happening.
so
Or the nurturing does not happen.
okay, where it outweighs in the negative sense.
Yes.
Okay.
And I feel like if that's the case, that because it keeps outweighing in the negative sense, that it seems maybe bigger than it is. And so the outweighing will start to look a little different in my eyes because it's the same thing that we've talked about before. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I'm just talking about your driving.
Okay. I was about to ask you, are you going to tell me what it is?
Yeah, and your driving, just to be clear, your driving is not terrible, but
Okay.
you know how I am with motion,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it could be a car, could be an airplane, whatever. You know how I am with motion, and we've talked about this before. And so it's not that your driving is terrible, but it's just how certain movements make me feel,
Okay.
right? And so that's what I'm talking about.
Do you feel like, and I'm agree with you, because I notice you don't react the same as you used to, but I do notice when you might be beginning to feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask this as it relates to nurturing, right? Because
And I don't know if that's the right word.
no, that's fine, but we'll go with that word. So the with the me not doing it, right? Me not doing it is the initial movement or whatever it may be, the change of lanes or the quick move or whatever it is, or the speed or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like I readjust better
Than you used to?
than I used to?
Yes.
So like knowing that, and I'm not saying that this covers the multitude of sins, quote unquote, but as it relates to I'm going somewhere.
Progress.
So
I got you.
as it relates to progress, I feel like I'm noticing now, or I'm more cognizant now of those times where you feel uncomfortable, and I quickly adjust, or not quickly, but I adjust to some degree.
To some
It may not
degree.
be exactly what you were looking for,
Yeah, to some degree.
but I do feel like I'm more aware of it now.
Yes,
And
I agree. It's definitely changed from initial.
okay,
Definitely, for
okay,
sure.
all right. That's yeah. So I just now I just have to start working on being proactive.
Yeah.
That proactive is it's not gonna. I was gonna say it's gonna be difficult. It's not gonna be difficult for me, but it will involve me changing some things that I normally do that I don't see a problem with.
And that is my point.
Okay,
It
what is your
doesn't
point?
matter to me that you don't see a problem with it. And there may not be a problem with it, but
Mm-hmm.
because I'm your wife
Mm-hmm.
and because I should be your main concern,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa, because you're my husband and you should be my main concern,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't, I feel like it doesn't matter if what it is that you feel like you need is irrational. Because I want you to feel comfortable or good or
Okay.
happy or whatever
Okay.
the feeling is that you, or the emotion is
Mm-hmm.
that you should, that you want to
Right.
feel, that you're not feeling. I feel like to me, even if what you desire to feel comfortable is irrational, that I should still provide it. Did I say that right?
Yes, I understand completely what you're saying. I'm hung up on the word irrational because irrational could be me giving in to something that is going to be detrimental to us just because I want to please you. I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
and
Well,
I understand what you're saying. There's a level of what you're saying is that there is a level of sacrifice that needs to take place.
yeah. And
So if I'm trying to meet a need for you that even puts me in a place where I might be living quote unquote outside of what I would how I would normally process things or how I would normally do things because I'm concerned about meeting the need for you, that's the level of sacrifice that I need to put in. Is that what I'm hearing?
yeah, but I also feel like um, this particular scenario,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would request that over a scenario that was more life and death. Well, sometimes I do feel like it's life and
Wow.
death.
It ain't that bad, folks.
No, no,
I'm
no.
trying to tell you,
It's
it ain't
not.
that bad.
It's not. It's not.
Sean, what's good, man? What's up, fam?
Hey, Sean.
Elizan,
Hey,
what
Ashley.
did Elizan say? Elizan said, when mentioned, should the area of lack change, especially when it has been discussed repeatedly with the promise of change?
And that's my point. I feel like yes, it should.
It is. The answer to that question is yes. Let's just be 100%. Um, do we do that? Obviously, based on this conversation, no. And I don't feel like it's that I intentionally don't do it.
You just don't think about it.
I just don't think about it.
Hmm.
As it relates to driving, there's just a certain way that I drive, and I'm not gonna say that I have always driven because I'm way more conservative now than 20 years ago.
Is that what it is? This is conservative?
Hey, maybe you didn't drive a lot with me 20 years ago. Do you remember? You remember how long it took? It's supposed to take an hour and 15 minutes for us to get from Bering Springs to Chicago.
Yeah.
And I would do that in 35. Easy.
Oh my gosh.
110 on 94.
Mm.
I don't drive like that anymore.
Yeah, no.
So I'm way more conservative. So it's not that I'm doing it and I'm just like I don't care how you feel.
Hmm.
It's just sometimes I'm just not thinking about it and there's just a certain way that I drive and I'm trying to get where I'm going.
And that's my point. I feel like that's not my point. I feel like this is my thought process
Mhm.
when we're in the car, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, didn't we already talk about this? Doesn't he know I'm uncomfortable with this? Shouldn't I care? Shouldn't I matter to you more than getting where you feel like you need to get to? That's literally the thought process that I have. And I feel like that's valid.
It is valid, 100%. So what I need to do, right? Because again, I'm more conservative, and I'm getting better at recognizing when you are uncomfortable.
Conserve even more.
And that's where I was going. So now I'm a granddad. I got to put on the granddad driving.
See? And
No, I'm not being. I'm being funny, but I'm serious. I have to. There's some adjustments I have to make. Is what you are telling me, right? Because me, me recognizing, me getting better at recognizing your level of discomfort and making adjustments is not enough, right? So I have to come up with ways to proactively do things in such a proactive way that you don't get uncomfortable.
And here's my next point too is that I feel like, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. I feel like when we're in the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know that I get the way I get,
Mm-hmm.
and you see that I'm uncomfortable or whatever, that you should be like, oh, let's enjoy this. I can't enjoy where we're going because I'm so uncomfortable.
Okay.
But I feel like you're like, well, by the time we get there, we'll be all right. She'll be okay.
Nah, that's not true. I understand that's how you feel, but that's not true. I understand, but I'm just telling you that I'm not ignoring how you feel. Maybe my adjustments aren't good enough, which is
See,
what it
and
sounds
that
like.
sounds like again, like you're
No,
like it's you, it's not me, it's you.
I'm not. I promise that's not what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm just making an observation because I feel like when I do recognize that you're uncomfortable, that I do make and I make
An adjustment.
acceptable adjustment.
Okay.
But from what you're saying to me, the adjustment is not acceptable. So I'm not saying it's you. I'm just saying how you feel, where you feel like where I'm trying to get to, and the time I'm trying to make up is more important than you. In my mind, in the car, when I see that you're uncomfortable, I make an adjustment, and I'm like, okay, I took care of it. But I obviously have not.
So when do you feel like when you notice? Do you see like my reaction?
I do.
As
Let me
Okay,
give
go
you an
ahead.
example.
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna give you a perfect example because I noticed it yesterday. Yesterday we're going to my father, to my parents, right? By the way, my father turned 85 yesterday. 85. So here, we were going to drop off the gift, right? And I remember I was getting over so I could get on the park and ride. And I was behind a car, and we weren't flying, but we were doing okay.
You doing
That
okay?
car, there was a truck in front of that car, right? The car in front of me, changed the lane so he could get on the park and ride, and I could tell that you were uncomfortable because you felt like I would have to get too close to the truck to make that lane change.
Yes. Gotcha. I remember.
So I noticed it, and as soon as I noticed it, I just backed off because I knew I had enough room to make it. So instead of making
it
the
makes
car,
me nervous just thinking about
instead of making the car rev, instead of you hearing the rev of the car for me to get in front of this other car, I just backed off because I knew no matter, even if I went all the way back down to the speed limit, I knew I was going to still make it. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, let me back down. I'm cool. Put on my blinkers. It was a smooth thing. I'm like, all right, I lessened that for her.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like in my mind.
So after all of that, backing down and all of that, did you look at me again and feel like I was more relaxed? I think that's what it is.
Okay.
You make what you feel like is an appropriate adjustment. What you feel like is an appropriate adjustment. You do that. But then I feel like you don't, for lack of a better word, check in
Afterward.
to see if I'm okay or not.
Okay.
And
All right.
Teresa said acceptable to
Yeah, I
who?
just put that up there.
Oh.
Phyllis, I saw your question. I'm gonna come back to it in a second. Phyllis said I was told I overthink. What does that mean? I'll come back to that. Um, yeah, and I get it. I'm with you. So there are some adjustments I need to make.
My whole point is, even if what I feel like I need, or you,
Mhm.
not just whomever,
Mhm.
my whole point is, even if what the spouse feels like they need in the relationship is irrational, I feel like the other spouse, because they want to nurture and cover and serve, or whatever word you want to use, their spouse, Zoe, what are you doing? That they should be willing to do that, even if to them or to me it feels like that's pretty irrational. They should be like, well, I don't feel like all of that is necessary, but if it's going to make her feel comfortable, that's what I want. Because who wants tension? You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it.
Okay. Okay. Teresa says sometimes acknowledgement is all it takes. Say, wife, I know you're nervous. I got this.
That don't work.
Yeah, I'm about to say. Listen, Teresa. I'm not shooting down what you said. I agree with you 100%. But your girl right here, that ain't gonna work. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I've done that a million times.
Tried it.
A million times.
The whole point is.
But I agree with you.
Oh, okay.
I agree with you.
Okay. The whole point is not your driving.
Okay. What is the point?
The point is just how I feel about motion and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like you should acknowledge that
Okay.
a little bit more. That's all. So I'm not saying you're a bad driver. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah, can we just, because we should have established that in the beginning. Can we just establish the fact that I'm not reckless?
No.
Like, I don't want people thinking that I'm just out
Yeah.
here just reckless. I'm not reckless.
No.
I am a fantastic driver.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, we making faces now. Okay, all right.
No.
Okay.
No. It's not that you're a reckless driver, and I don't mean it that everything that I'm saying in that way. You're
But
not
I
a
need to make
reckless
some
driver.
adjustments so that you're comfortable. I have to make some adjustments so that you're comfortable. Which speaks to your point. I wouldn't use the word irrational because I don't think.
Yeah, I can't think of another word.
But I understand what you're saying. So even if I feel like I'm not reckless and I am driving with some level of efficiency, if I'm still not nurturing you or meeting that need,
That
then
should
I'm
be
not
all
doing
that matters.
right. Okay, I get it.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm good. I agree. Elizanne said I agree. We make adjustments that we think is appropriate, but not what the person is requesting.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's my point. Yep.
Elizanne said it ain't going to work for a lot of us. Yeah, that I got this, and we get to our destination safely every time.
Yeah.
That don't work.
No.
I got to make some actual adjustments, which for me, I got to admit, I'm not gonna say they're gonna be difficult because I care about your level of, I care about
Comfort?
what you think or how you feel, how comfortable you are, right? I also don't want our rides to be tense because
Yeah,
that's
see?
a very intimate time for us.
Right. And that's
Is
the
when
thing
we're in
too,
the
because
car.
I'm like, I can't even enjoy myself.
Right. And I do think about that. Trust me, I do. But it's just that the adjustments are just not enough.
Okay.
And I'm aware of that, and the adjustments that I make are because I'm aware of that. But they are not enough. So I got to figure out what to do next.
Figure out. See, it just makes it sound like
you have come to this table with some already preconceived heaviness. I'm not doing that. I'm not making it seem like it's on you. What I am saying though, I am saying that I do have to think about it because I already feel like I made the adjustments. Like I don't know, I got to think about it, and maybe we have to talk about what in your mind, what do you see those adjustments looking
For,
like?
here's an example. Like when you scooted in between that car or the truck,
Hmm.
I personally, if I were driving, I'd be like, no, I'll just let them go. I'll wait, type thing. Just things like that.
Okay, so can we flip it just for a moment?
Uh,
Okay, listen. I don't suggest that you do this in conversation. I'm about to do something that I strongly suggest you don't do. Right? When you're having a conversation like this, and we didn't, for those of you that are new to this Thursday night convo, this is not rehearsed, right?
no.
I had no clue this was what she was going to talk about. Typically, every Thursday night, the
We at least
subject
have
matter.
an idea of the topic.
Not every Thursday night we don't. Often it's a surprise. Like you talk
Yeah.
about,
Yeah, yeah.
So this was not pre-recorded. So I'm about to do something that I would not suggest you do, but I'm just gonna flip. Don't ever flip the conversation back on the person
The concern.
who has the concern. But I'm about to do that now.
You had to turn all the way around like that?
Many of the things that make you uncomfortable,
I do.
you do when you're behind the wheel.
I think when the person is behind the wheel, that they have a different sense of, I don't know, maybe control.
Maybe I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay.
It's just
But that doesn't matter though, because motion sickness and dizziness and all of that, whatever, it's not really to that point, but it's close. But that doesn't happen to you, so that shouldn't matter.
So just so I understand, it's not about what I do. It's about how you feel about what I do.
Yes, absolutely.
So I need, again,
And
goes
that's
back
why-
to I need to make some adjustments so that you don't feel like that.
Yes. It's not, like I said, it's not you're not a reckless driver. You're not a bad driver.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's not that. It's how I feel, and I just feel like you should just keep that in mind. How I feel and how do you want me to feel?
Okay.
That should be your concern, how you want me to feel.
Okay.
And vice versa, if anything were to ever come up.
I'm cool with that.
Phyllis says, how do you make adjustments to help your partner, but it becomes uncomfortable for the person making the adjustment? That's a good
That's
question.
a great question.
That's a good question. Love you too, Tabby.
Because following this conversation, that is the boat that I will find myself in.
So you're going to really be uncomfortable? That's a really...
No. Uncomfortable is a strong word, but as it relates to the relationship between the fact that I already feel like I've made adjustments,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship between that and what should I do next, in between those two lies what Phyllis is talking about.
Yeah.
So, and that goes back to my point where I'm like, maybe the follow-up conversation to this for us is probably needs to be, give me your suggestions.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm in the car with you, please don't excessively change lanes.
Please don't get super close
which
to
I
the
don't
car.
do, but yeah, whatever
in
it is,
front
I'm
of
just using that as an example.
Yeah.
So don't get close, don't get too close. Try to be whatever, and that's where it goes into those things where you're the sacrifice that you feel like you have to make or should make
Yeah.
in order for the other person to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But I agree with what Phyllis is saying. That's that middle piece right there where
Yeah.
where
and
either you just don't know or and I think to answer to address what Phyllis said, I think there's follow-up conversations that need to be had so that you don't get stuck in that place. Because after this, if we don't have another conversation, it's just me in my mind thinking, man, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? As opposed to you giving me some suggestions and we kind of work out a strategy
Yeah.
that works for you.
So do you think then that, because we've had this conversation before, so do you think then that maybe because we didn't have um, specific follow-up conversations before is why it's still happening?
I mean, that's possible, and the fact that I feel like I made
You feel like
adjustments.
you
I feel like I
adjusted
made
enough.
progress.
Yeah. Okay, got you.
I feel like I made progress, so I didn't feel like there was more to do.
Got you. Because I feel like, and this is, I guess my concern was that, man, we've talked about this before, so it must not be important to him if
Mhm.
he didn't, because you did make adjustments. I feel like when we talked about it before, you made, in my mind, adjustments enough to the point where I was comfortable.
Okay.
But then I feel like it kind of went backwards.
So what I need from you is I need you to tell me what I was doing then. In that period of time where you were feeling comfortable, you have to tell me what I was doing. That's the
Okay.
conversation we have to have.
Hmm.
So that I can be that, because it is not. Let us dispel this right here now at this table. It is not that I do not care. That is not. That's not even like you have a multiple choice question. You have A, B, C, D, all of the above. That's not even a choice. Like
Okay.
it's not there. It's not about me not being one. It's not about me not being cognizant about your feeling, because I feel like I'm at that point now.
Okay.
And two, it's not that I'm ignoring how you feel about it.
Okay.
Not at all.
Because sometimes,
Not at all.
honestly, sometimes I would feel like you were just like, she'll be okay.
Nope.
We'll get there. She'll be all right.
I have been that person,
I know.
but not lately.
I still feel like that. Reasonable, Gary Jones says, reasonable strategies that are mutually beneficial to both individuals. Absolutely. My concern, though, is that, and I think this is probably your concern as well, that one of us is going to lose out. Very loose term, but do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That one of us is going to be losing out. I can't think of another way to say it.
And the truth is that's the truth. I believe that is the case. However, here's the however. I do believe that there are certain areas where that has to happen for your relationship. It's the same. It's funny that you would mention this. I don't know if I didn't let you read this portion of the book. I'm just going to throw a shameless plug. I'm writing a book for men, and it is almost done. Like it's 98% done. And then we got to go into the editing process. I use this, and this is to speak to the fact that I feel like I made adjustments. I use this very example in the book.
Did you
in one
really?
of the chapters. And
Wow.
it's a chapter about one of the laws, if you will, is that you have to be willing to take an L
In order for the team.
the team to win.
Yeah.
Which is what I felt like I did.
Oh, see now.
So
I feel bad.
no. I'm not saying that for you to feel bad. What I'm saying is the importance of follow-up conversations, right? Because I do feel like I already took that L, but I didn't. There's still some tweaking that has to take place, which I'm cool with, and I feel like people should be okay with that, because to some degree, the sacrifice that you make,
It's sacrifice.
right? The sacrifice that you make for your marriage to win will sometimes involve you putting aside some things that you held in high regard. Let's put it that way.
Hold dearly. Yeah.
Right. And I'm cool with that. Not a problem. Not a problem.
You're great.
But yes, I agree. I agree, Gary. Mutually beneficial is ideal, right? And sometimes it might be a little bit lopsided so that the team can win, right? You think about the team concept. We say this all the time. You know, I'm a sports guy. Talk about it all the time, right? There are some times where some folk on the team will have to sacrifice playing time, or will have to sacrifice, they wanted the play to go to them, but based on the time that's left on the clock and based on the defensive strategy that the coach sees on the field, they're like, no, we're not gonna go to you. We're gonna go to so and so. So that's just part of it, right?
Yeah.
So and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. So,
Okay. Oh man, I feel terrible.
no, that was good.
And
That was good. That
that's
was a
why
good
I
one.
was like, I don't know if
That
I
was a
should
good one.
even say anything or if I should just suck it up.
You should always say
Because,
something.
well, yes, I agree, but I feel like because we've had this conversation before, maybe it's me. Let me just suck it up and continue to grip the side of the door until we get to where we're going.
Yeah, please don't do that because the door will be getting loose. You know what I mean?
You're exaggerating. Stop it.
No, always say something. Always say, this was good. It was good. And so out of this, I know we got to sit down and talk about some other stuff.
So Phyllis said, I don't think there is no way to lose out it if lose out in a growing relationship with communication if both parties are putting all their energy to loving each other.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I use the word lose for, like, especially in the book. I use the term taking an L. Obviously for shock value, but um, it's sacrifice. It's really what it is. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
matter of how much are you willing to do, how far are you willing to
Sacrifice.
go
Yeah.
in order for everything to be, cool in your relationship. And I think that that's just what it really boils down to. I think that
So
that's
go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, no. I'm just saying that that's what it boils down to. That's what I think.
So since we've addressed my concerns, I guess it's only fair if I asked you, do you feel like there is any area where I'm not as nurturing as you feel like you need?
I got to think about that. The quick answer is no. I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
But I mean, I got to think about that.
All right. Well, come back.
And maybe we can, maybe that can be another week.
Hmm. That's why I said come
Yeah,
back.
maybe that can be another week. But
That's it.
that's yeah, that's I mean that's pretty much what our Thursdays are like, man. For those of you who are with us for the first time, that every Thursday we come
Yeah.
on and have a conversation, or we try to come on every Thursday, and the whole goal, right? This conversation could very well turn into a blow up.
Mm-hmm.
It could turn into heavy conflict.
Mm-hmm.
We could turn this camera off and go upstairs and go in opposite directions after this, right? Our goal in having these conversations in front of you is to show you that you can have these conversations. They can be effective,
Mm-hmm.
they can be efficient, even if you don't necessarily get to an agreement after the first conversation.
Yeah.
It will allow you to kind of figure out whether there are some follow up conversations. Really take the time to listen. If you noticed, I was saying back a lot of what she was saying, or saying, hey, this is what I hear. What I hear you saying is such and such. To give her the chance to really explain and elaborate and provide clarification. And you got to be open to your spouse. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be open to compromise. You have to be open to change. You have to be open to adjustments. You have to be open to constructive criticism, not just somebody beating over your head. That's not what I'm talking about. But somebody who can challenge you. There's we talk about 5 levels of intimacy, and one of those levels of intimacy is uh, intellectual intimacy. And in intellectual intimacy, that is where that tug of war and that give and take happens,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like she's challenging me on some things. Well, have you thought about this? Or this is how I feel when you do such and such. And have you thought about this? And we can kind of do that back and forth, that dance that gets us to the place where we want to be as a couple.
Yeah.
So it is important that those things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Maxine. Much appreciated. Thank you for your support as well. Always rocking
Yeah.
with us. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Purposeful conversations where both parties are heard and supported.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. Yep.
100%. And so
Yeah.
that's the whole reason why we get on here and have these conversations on Thursday night, to show folk that they can have these conversations and they don't always have to be. If you go back and watch some of these other ones, some of them, a few of them that I can think of off the top of my head were tense
Mm-hmm.
conversations. But you can have these conversations and they can be productive,
Mm-hmm.
and they can, move you down the road to to resolution or to make adjustments, whatever the case may
Or
be.
at
So
least understanding.
at least understanding, right? And conversation is a catalyst for you to understand your spouse. Conversation is a catalyst for you to grow in your relationship, because as you begin to understand your spouse, you begin to make adjustments. The two of you begin to devise strategies so that this thing can work, because you're two different members of the same team.
Yeah.
You bring two different set of skill sets to the same team,
Yeah.
right? If you look at basketball, there are not 5 guards on the court at the same time. Everybody plays a different position. They bring a different perspective. They bring a different level of talent to the organization. So you sit down, you talk it out, you learn your spouse, you devise strategy, you come up with a game plan, you move forward.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole goal of these Thursday nights. And we'll bookend it like we always do. We created a tool to help you do that. Because sometimes you can't just blurt out. Sometimes you need to write some things down. I know I've been in the case where I have to write some things down and be like, do I say this? Let me say this out loud and see if the air smacks me in the face. Because if the air smacks me in the face, I'm definitely not going to her with that. And so we've created a tool that allows you to get these conversations started. They don't always have to be tense, but the Have a Conversation journal allows you to do that. So if you have not picked up that journal, please go pick up that journal. Denali.org/shop, Amazon or Barnes and Nobles. Also, for those of you who are watching, I said it in the beginning, but we are moving this live, as well as some of our other content, to a Facebook group.
Make sure you join the
So
group.
make sure that you join the group. Facebook.com/groups/Denali LLC. Make sure that you go to that, join the group, so that we can see you. And what is it? You got to accept the folk that join.
Yeah.
So 2 places. One, the group. The other is that we encourage you, if you have not already done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are moving a lot of content just to this YouTube channel. A lot of lives. Most of the panel discussions that we have coming up between now and the end of the year, they will all be strictly on this channel.
Yeah.
So you have to join the group, or you have to
Subscribe.
to. I would actually
Do both.
love if you did both, because those are the 2 areas where we will be concentrating our focus as it relates to content. All right, so that's it. As of as always, check out Short Tips for a Long Marriage, and that you can also get on YouTube or Denali.org/videos. Just short tips that you can incorporate every day. We have a podcast episode, a new one coming tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. We have a new one. We're doing something different. We're doing 2 episodes back to back. So there's an episode coming Friday, tomorrow, and then there's another episode coming next week. So make sure that you are subscribed to that podcast, and you can follow us, of course, on social media. So here, that's it. Have a great Thursday. Make sure that you're talking to your spouse. Have a conversation. Have a fantastic holiday weekend. Those of you who are off tomorrow, it's supposed to be hot. Those of you who love hot weather, I know in the DMV it's supposed to be like 98 degrees or some nonsense like that. So get out in the sun. Be safe.
Be safe.
Keep up with your social distancing and your mask wearing.
Yes.
Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Good night.